Recognize Ms. Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm trying to get this in before we run to votes, and thank you all our witnesses for their service and their time. This administration's waffling has created chaos and instability on a massive scale, from Europe to the Middle East and beyond. We've got Russia, China, and Iran are taking advantage of our weakness and our lack of resolve. Every day, they are bringing the fight closer to our shores, and whether through the utter collapse of security on the southern border or the out-of-control flow, as Mr. Meeks has brought up, of fentanyl into American communities. We must restore American leadership abroad to deter China and Russian aggression, but we cannot neglect the vigilant defense of our interests in our own backyards. Assistant Secretary Nichols, this year so far, 27,000 Chinese nationals have been apprehended at our southern border. A total of 89 of them have been removed from the U.S. In 2024. Last year, 24,000 Chinese migrants illegally entered the U.S., and only 285 were sent back. Why are the deportation numbers so low, and what is your assessment of the national security risk posed by these growing numbers of unvetted Chinese nationals illegally entering our country?
The Biden administration is committed to secure borders.
No, they're not. 10 million illegal migrants have come across, so don't say that to me, but go ahead.
This administration proposed comprehensive migration reform. That was not passed. The president has put forward new regulations that will expedite the removal of those persons found not to have the ability
Tell me about the Chinese nationals, 50,000 in the last 2 years.
We have worked with partners throughout the hemisphere as part of the Los Angeles Declaration on Migration and Protection to impose new visa restrictions on a number of nationalities throughout the world who are entering the Americas. We have worked with partners to facilitate the repatriation of those persons who do not have.
Why are Chinese nationals coming here?
Maybe because China doesn't have much hope or prosperity for them. Maybe they're trying to leave.
Well,
China.
that's not doesn't come under the definition of asylum. All right, let me go move on. It's very disturbing, and do not at all tell me or this committee that this administration, this president, has not let in over 7 to 8 million illegal migrants since he took office, and millions more in gotaways. Over 100,000 Americans died of drug overdoses in 2023, mostly due to fentanyl. And so far, this fiscal year, over 9,600 pounds of fentanyl have been seized at the southern border, enough to kill around 2 billion people. In April, the Bipartisan Select Committee on CCP released a comprehensive and damning report finding that China directly subsidizes and incentivizes the manufacturing and trafficking of fentanyl materials and other synthetic narcotics. Assistant Secretary Robinson, what is your assessment of China's role in the fentanyl crisis?
Thank you, ma'am, for that question. First, let me say that since we have reinvigorated the Counter-Narcotics Working Group, I've had 4 opportunities, 2 in Beijing, to speak to my PRC counterparts on this issue. They know that this is important to us. And they have taken some initial actions, notifying their chemical industry, for instance, about certain substances that should not be distributed to the United States. But they also know directly from me and from the Secretary that they're not doing enough.
Yeah, 9,600 pounds. I mean, that's, as I said, enough to kill 2 billion people, and #1 killer of 18 to 34-year-olds in the United States of America. This is a war on our youth. 100,000 Americans died in 2023. I'm going to move on here. Assistant Secretary Nichols, last year, Brazilian President Lula da Silva allowed 2 of Iran's most advanced warships to dock in Rio de Janeiro. The Lula government granted these ships access to one of Brazil's most important ports despite U.S. sanctions and over the reported objections of the administration. What specific actions has the administration taken against the port in Rio de Janeiro and where the ships docked and the Brazilian companies that provided them services or accepted payments, and the foreign companies that have entangled themselves with the port or those Brazilian companies since?
We have discussed with countries around the region the importance of respect for the sanctions against Iran and its forces. We have raised the issue with the government of Brazil.
Two of Iran's most advanced warships docked there. What specific action did we take?
We have raised this issue with Brazilian officials and expressed our
All
concern.
right, we've done nothing. I yield back, Mr. Chairman. Pathetic.
Delay yields back. Committee will recess for 3 votes on the House floor.